Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim sarasvatim vyasam tato jayamudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should first offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Sarasvati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavat utama shloke bhaktir bhavati naistiki. It's November 29th, 2025. We're studying Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 8, entitled Manifestation of Brahma from Vishnu, Text 20. Okay, we'll start with the Sanskrit words responsively. Tamasi, apare, viduratma, sargam, vichinvato, bhut, sumahams, trinemi, yo, dehabhajam, bayam, irayana, rikshinoti, ayor, ajasya, heti, tamasya pare viduratma sargam, vichinvato bhut, sumahams trinemi. Yodeha bhajam bayam irayana. Parikshino yurajasya heti. Tamasya pare viduratma sargam. Vichinvato bhut sumahams trinemi. Yodeha bhajam bayam irayana. Parikshino yayurajasya heti. Tamasya pare viduratma sargam. Vichinvato bhut sumahams trinemi. Yodeha bhajam bayam irayana. Parikshino yayurajasya heti. If anyone else would like to lead the chanting of the verse. Would anyone online like to lead the chanting of the verse?
Tamasya pare viduratma sargam.
Tamasya pare viduratma sargam.
Vishan vato bhut sumaham strinami.
Vichinvato bhut sumahams trinemi.
Yodeha bhajam bayam irayana.
Yudeha bhajam bayam irayana.
Pariksinoti yor ayasya iti.
Parikshino jayurajasya heti.
Tamasya pare viduratma sargam.
Tamasya pare vidur atma sargam.
Vijinvato putsumaham strinemi.
Vichinvatu bhutsumaham strinemi.
Yodeha bhajam bayam irayana.
Yudeha bhajam bayam irayana.
Parikshinotyayurajasya heti.
Parikshino jayurajasya heti. Okay, we'll study the word meanings. Okay. Tamasi apare,
Tamasi apare.
because of an ignorant way of searching.
Because of an ignorant way of searching.
Vidura,
Vidura.
O Vidura,
O Vidura.
Atmasargam,
Atmasargam.
the cause of his creation.
Cause of his creation.
Vichinvata,
Vichinvata.
while contemplating.
While contemplating.
Abut,
Abut.
it so became.
It so became.
Sumahan,
Sumahan.
very great.
Very great.
Trinemi,
Trinemi.
time of 3 dimensions.
Time of 3 dimensions.
Ya,
Ya.
which?
Which.
Dehabhajam,
Dehabhajam.
of the embodied.
Of the embodied.
Bayam,
Bayam.
fearfulness.
Fearful.
Irayana,
Irayana.
generating.
Generating.
Parikshinoti,
Pariksinoti.
diminishing the 100 years.
Diminishing the 100 years.
Ayu,
Ayu.
duration of life.
Duration of life.
Ajasya,
Jasya.
of the self-born.
Of the self-born.
Heti,
Heti.
the wheel of eternal time.
Wheel of eternal time.
Translation. Ovidura, so just for some context, this is a great sage, Maitreya, speaking to another great soul named Vidura. And there's actually more than 60 chapters of their conversation. Ovidura, while searching in that way about his existence, Brahma reached his ultimate time, which is the eternal wheel in the hand of Vishnu, and which generates fear in the mind of the living entity, like the fear of death. There's no purport from Srila Prabhupada to that text. I'll read the next text. This is text 21, chapter 8, canto 3. Tato nivrito pratilabda kamas vadishyam asadya punasadeva shaner jitastvasa nivrita chito nyashidada rudha samadhi yoga. Translation. Thereafter, being unable to achieve the desired destination, he retired from such searching and came back again to the top of the lotus. Thus, controlling all objectives, he concentrated his mind on the Supreme Lord. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Samadhi involves concentrating the mind upon the supreme cause of all, even if one is unaware of whether his actual nature is personal, impersonal, or localized. Concentration of the mind on the Supreme is certainly a form of devotional service. To cease from personal sense endeavors and to concentrate on the supreme cause is a sign of self-surrender, and when self-surrender is present, that is a sure sign of devotional service. Each and every living entity needs to engage in devotional service to the Lord if he wishes to understand the ultimate cause of his existence. All right, Krishna. So I'll recite a few mantras to continue to invoke auspiciousness in our gathering. And my mood in reciting the mantras is that whatever I may speak authentically in an authorized way, representing the essence and substance of Srimad Bhagavatam and Srila Prabhupada. Of course, in my own way, with my own personality, but it's not just some like made up stuff that David Wolf thought of, that I'm representing the spirit here. Om Ganatimirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayamupakadamayam Darati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Saganaraganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitan Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitam Cha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchan Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshware Vrishabhanusate Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatayubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva cha Patitanan Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 3 Chapter 8 entitled Manifestation of Brahma from Vishnu, text 20 and 21. O Vidura, while searching in that way about his existence, Brahma reached his ultimate time, which is the eternal wheel in the hand of Vishnu, and which generates fear in the mind of the living entity, like the fear of death. Thereafter, being unable to achieve the desired destination, he retired from such searching and came back again to the top of the lotus. Thus, controlling all objectives, he concentrated his mind on the Supreme Lord. Hare Krishna. And so here online, there's Anasuya and Rukmini, Anandini, Bhakti and Rosa. And here in person, there's Evie and Scott. Evie and Scott, Hare Krishna. And okay, so yeah, so yesterday we discussed the previous verse. Sylvan was here. Sylvan was here from England, as was Arjuna from Czech Republic. And a theme, because a theme here is creation and time and space and time. And so there's like material time and transcendental time. And this is for connoisseurs of Srimad Bhagavatam, this is a description of Brahma and creation. And there's another description of Brahma and creation in the second canto. And so it's similar, but not exactly the same, like the length of his meditation. And that's described that because there's it's described different, they're like different kalpas. It gets a little complex. So there's the Deya Brahma, which is like every 8.6 billion years, and there's a lifetime of Brahma, which is 311 trillion, 40 billion years. And so there's different creations. So, and in Bhagavatam history, it's in one sense the purpose. Yeah, the purpose is it's different than like if we might study history in our school or like that. So it's the emphasis isn't like chronological, what happened then what happened then what happened then. rather the emphasis is like bringing in different highlights from history to support us in self-realization and God consciousness and enthusiasm for devotional service. And just bring in different parts of history that's going to support us in that ultimate goal. And that's why we'll get, different creations and different kalpas described at different times. And the details will be a little different. And the principles are the same. The principle, like the principle we focused on yesterday, principle things go from subtle to external. Basic spiritual principle. Things go from subtle to external. And so here, so the creation starts with just like, all right. So, for example, okay, so external, just like, okay, we're in this vehicle, this body, right? Dehinosmin yata dehe komaram yoganam jara tata dehantara praptir diras titranamuyati. As the embodied soul continually passes in this body from childhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at the time of death. A self-realized person is not bewildered by such a change. And so okay, so we're in these bodies, and the bodies change, right? At the same time, there's some constant identity that I call David, you call Evie, you call Scott, like that, you call Rosa. So the bodies change, but there's some constant identity. A quick thought exercise we do in our workshops and seminars, we have it in the book, all borrowed from Srila Prabhupada. We ask, okay, imagine if you're looking at a photo of yourself from when you were 5 years old. So when we look at that photo, there we go. So Anasuya has a photo of herself from when she was 5. This is experiential learning. This is experiential learning, not just theoretical. Thank you, Anasuya, for having it prepared. Like we have some super soul connection. She knew where I was going somehow. And so when we look at that photo at 5, do we say, oh, that's, who is this stranger? Who is this person? No. We say, that's Ann Christofferson at 5. That's David Wolf. That's Scott McGregor when I was 5. Now we know from basic science, basic chemistry, there's not one cell, not one atom in the body now that was there at 5. Still, there's some constant identity. I call David, you call Evie, you call Rosa, like that. So that's like, it's like a proof that the identity is something completely non-material. It's something completely non-material. And call it soul, an irreducible quanta of consciousness. Okay. All right, so this is like everything. This is something that so much attracted me to this philosophy and science and practice of Krishna consciousness. Like it's completely universal, non-sectarian. So the body changes and the identity remains constant. But I'm a Muslim, but I'm black, I'm white, I'm Chinese, I'm a woman, I'm a man, I'm conservative, I'm liberal. Well, whatever. The body changes. This is universal principles. The body changes and there's a constant identity. So the science of self-realization is realizing what's the nature of this constant identity, like scientifically gets to the science of self-realization. Not that we want to reject the vehicle or neglect it. In fact, I can say if I look at my life, the more self-realization and Krishna consciousness I have realization of, the more I'm attentive to be fit and healthy. So, oh, this is a temple of God. This is serving me on this vehicle is serving me on this most precious journey. So I want to take care of it. So like we want to take care of the car while simultaneously realizing that I'm not the car, I'm the driver. I'm the driver. So in all of our endeavors, whatever, all of our eating, sleeping, interpersonal relationships, economic, career, all of our endeavors, to whatever extent, yeah, to whatever extent we're identifying or misidentifying ourselves and others with this stuff, again, I'm not meaning to denigrate. It's all divine energy. At the same time, the car is so important. But like, let's say if we hear there was a car crash, we hear there's a car crash. Do we immediately ask, oh, could you get the insurance money? Is it in the junkyard or can you repair it? No. We ask, was anyone killed? Was anyone injured? Because we know the car is important, but much, much, much more important is the driver. Maybe after we hear there were no fatalities or injuries, we say, oh, could you get it repaired? How much does it cost? That's secondary. So, sure, take care of the car, the eating, the sleeping, the mating, defending, while 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 fulfilling the special opportunity for spiritual beings in a human experience is to realize what's it mean to nurture and nourish and take care of the driver of the car. And that's Bhagavad Gita, that's Srimad Bhagavatam. So to the extent that in all our endeavors, including interpersonal and social, that we're misidentifying the self with the body, then as deep as we go, it's shallow, it's superfluous, because we're misidentifying the glorious spiritual self essentially with dead matter, with something very external to the self. Okay. So Bhagavad Gita describes Bhumira po nalo vayu kamana buddha evacha ahankaram ityame bina prakriti ashtadha. Krishna describes there's 8 categories of material energy. 5 external, earth, water, fire, air, ether, okay, like this stuff. And then 3 subtle material energy. Mind, intelligence, and ahankara, or false ego. And so now if we're identifying like the French philosopher Descartes, he went through a whole process realizing he's not the finger, he's not the body, and he came to I think, therefore I am. So my understanding is like he understood he's not the gross body, and then he identified self with thought. So he didn't quite come to like understanding he's not the mind. As another analogy, there's the hardware and the software. I'm not the hardware and I'm not the software. I'm the operator of the computer. So the software, that's like material energy, mind. When we say material energy can be transformed into spiritual energy. That's the whole process of bhakti. By using the body, the car, the mind in devotional service, then we spiritualize the material energy. That's what it means technically to spiritualize the world. So if we're identifying with like mind, subtle material and body, then that's getting more to the essence, more to the core, still external. And then there's then there's okay, like the oneness of spirit. It's getting closer. And then there's the actual spirit soul. That's okay, that's us. So if we've had like really deep connection, deep relationship, the basis of that is realizing who we are essentially and supporting each other to come to realization that we're not this kind of external dream drama. Right? and then getting even more to the essence, getting even more to the essence. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Ishvara Sarvabhutanam Videsha Arjuna Tishtati Brahmayan Sarvabhutani Yajurudani Maya. He says that there's a full expansion of God sitting right next to us in the region of the heart, and actually sitting in every atom. Dantarasta Paramanu Chantarasta. That's called the super soul, or Paramatma, or Paramatma. And so, and we can see that just like a basic spiritual principle, inorganic matter doesn't move unless acted upon by a conscious person, a conscious entity, right? So like, I might be thinking like, oh, I'm sitting here, but I want to go to the dining room, or I'd like to stand, or I'd like to walk outside. Okay. But the chair or the cushion, they're not thinking, oh, I wish I was in that room over there. They're not thinking like that because there's no conscious person. But then I can go to the pillow or the chair and move it and move it like that. Okay, so we kind of established logically, we're not the body, we're not the mind. Oh, we're that irreducible quantum of consciousness that inhabits the body, inhabits the mind. Okay, all right. So at the same time, there's so much matter moving in these bodies, and like, I'm not doing it. I mean, I don't know, the blood through the capillaries, and there's the lymph system. Even when I'm awake, what to speak when I'm sleeping? Like even when there's so much, there's like the synapses and all the whole physiology and the neurology, even when I'm completely sleeping. And matter doesn't move unless it's acted upon by a conscious person. So that indicates like, well, there's a lot of matter moving here. So there must be another conscious person sitting right next to me in the region of the heart. And that's described. That's called Paramatma. It's called Supersoul. So things go from subtle to external. And that's why we discussed this a bit yesterday. That for me, this sort of approach to understanding source and creation, it's natural to want to, as according to Teilhard de Chardin, we're not human beings having a spiritual experience. We're spiritual beings having a human experience. And the special opportunity, the special gift as a spiritual being having a human experience is we get to discuss things like this. Who am I? What's the difference between body and soul? What happens upon the death of the body? What's the purpose of my life? Each species has its special gift and contribution in God's creation. And the special opportunity in the human form is to atato brahma jigyasa. Now's the time to inquire about these questions that other species they don't get to delve into. So it's naturally when we meet someone, where are you from? Where are you from? We want to know source. We want the root, the source. Yeah, okay, and we know our ancestry. What did my grandparents do? What did their grandparents do? It does like it's like naturally to be interested in that. Animals aren't thinking in those terms. Okay, this is a special opportunity. So this goes to the source of the source. Yeah. Sometimes it's a one distinguishing character, a difference between animals and humans is we can understand who's the boss of the boss, the supervisor of the supervisor. The animals don't get that. The dog just like you're the one who feeds me, and you're the one who, and that's it. You're this. You must be the supreme God. There's no conception there's someone above you. We can have like so like Narada Muni saw that his father Brahma, he was such this great personality, but he saw Brahma was meditating on some personality. And we'll go there. This Bhagavatam chapter goes on. So Narada Muni said, so there's someone who you're serving under. All right. So the idea of so that everything in creation starts with the subtlest. Because even if we go more subtle than the super soul, then there's Bhagavan, the source of super soul, the subtlest, most most powerful advanced consciousness activates the motion of the universe, for me, logically, that makes more sense than there was a big nothing that exploded. And as a result, we referenced this yesterday, as a result of the big nothing that exploded, we have Shakespeare sonnets, and we have artificial intelligence and like that. So that's like the gross, no consciousness leads to higher level of organization. It kind of goes against the basic physical law of entropy. So we have these, everything starts with consciousness, and then in a sense it's a big bang, and then but it's a big bang activated by consciousness. And then, yeah, and so we discuss, it's described, so there's material time, and then there's like eternity. It doesn't essentially mean a very, 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 very long time. Eternity means outside of time altogether. And so it's described in the Sri Brahma Samhita. It describes Sveta Dvipa or Goloka, where there is eternal existence of transcendental time, who is ever present and thus free from past and future, and hence not subject to the quality of passing away for even half a moment, even half of a nanosecond. And so, yeah, and so that's a place of Shuddha Sattva. It's like tamas, that means destruction. Rajas, creation. And so when we identify, we connect with modes of tamas and rajas, then we know we have this anxiety around time. Oh, what time is it? And then in sattvic, full self-realization, sattvic consciousness, as we approach that, similar to Srila Prabhupada would often very much appreciate Einstein himself and the theory of relativity. As we approach the speed of light, time slows down. Similarly, as we approach more and more pure consciousness, then we're in that timeless space. So in that Sveta Dvipa, of course, where there is eternal existence of transcendental time, who is ever present. So transcendental time is a person. Everything's personal. Everything's personal. So it means, like, because in that realm, there's no tamas, there's no rajas, so there's no destruction, no creation. Every moment exists eternally in spontaneous devotional play with the Supreme Person and the pure associates. So Srila Prabhupada says here, samadhi involves concentrating the mind upon the supreme cause of all, even if one is unaware of whether his actual nature is personal, impersonal, or localized. So that points to three aspects of the absolute truth. Vedanti tat tattva vidas tattvam yaj jnanamadvayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti shabdyate. Learned transcendentalists realize the absolute in three aspects. So there's the oneness, like the undifferentiated oneness, and then there's the Paramatma, God in the heart, and then there's Bhagavan Sri Krishna. And what Prabhupada's emphasizing here is saying, like, it's all one. No, there's a oneness and a difference simultaneously. And sometimes Srila Prabhupada will emphasize the oneness and sometimes the distinction. The philosophy of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, the technical term is achintya beta beta tattva, simultaneously and inconceivably one and different. And so as far as like the impersonal path is like Prabhupada's simply respecting it. Simply respecting it's a valid realization of the absolute. An example given, let's say we're driving, and in the distance there's a town or a city on the hill. Well, from the distance, it's just like maybe some cloud or some cloudy thing, but there's something there. And we get closer and we can say, oh, it's not just some cloudy, misty thing or something. No, I can see there's a skyscraper, and that must be the municipality, and that looks like a sports stadium. Ah, okay. And that represents like the Paramatma realization. And if we actually drive into it, then we say, oh, there's Betty Smith with her two children, and there's the postman, Mr. Johnson, and oh, here's the playground. We get the specifics. Now, the town on the hill is always the town on the hill. It didn't change. But according to our perspective, we're appreciating it, realizing it differently. But all those realizations are valid. And the specific realization includes the distant cloud on the hill realization. Another example. Okay, let's say there's a symphony orchestra, Beethoven or Mozart or something. Okay, and then and then and then let's say after the symphony, maybe they ask someone like me who's not so learned or not a connoisseur of music. They go, "What did you think of the symphony?" And I might say, "It was good. I liked it." It's valid. Now let's say they ask someone who's like highly trained and experienced in music appreciation, "What did you think of it?" And then we go, "Oh, it was the way that the oboes harmonized with the sopranos and the I don't know what they would say because that's not me, but you get the idea." And they go, "Yes, and the strings and the percussion and that they and there and the crescendo." And it's like now, so both realizations are valid, and the detailed realization about the oboes and the bass and whatever that includes, it was good. I liked it. Okay, so this personal realization of Godhead that includes the impersonal, includes the Paramatma, and that's why at the same time some might just have a preference for the impersonal, just like yeah, let's say Um, yeah, there's a place in Bhagavad Gita in the verse where Krishna talks about realizing God through the taste of water and the light of the sun and the moon. Vasoham apsukonte prabhasmi sasi suryayo prabhava pranasarvesh prabhava sarva vedeshu shabdike purusham reshu. I am the taste of water and like that. And Prabhupada says, and so those who are attracted to the non-personal realization, they appreciate the energy, the taste. Those who are attracted to the personal realization of the absolute, they appreciate like, oh, who's the person behind this nature? So it's like it's all complementary. Just like you have your nature, you're going to jive my nature, and Nandini has her nature with me. We all have our natures. Wherever there's nature, and we say, oh, that's David's nature, that's Evie's nature. So it's natural to love nature, the trees, the forest, the sky, the beach. And then it can be a natural question, whose nature is it? And that gets into cultivating realization of the personality of the absolute. And there's a place in Bhagavad Gita in one of Prabhupada's purports, and he said there's the impersonalists and there's the personalists, and then there's the devotees. That's very poignant for me, because what he's saying is like, the devotee is not in any political camp, an actual devotional heart. I'm in this camp, A devotional heart appreciates all aspects of the supreme, of the divine, all aspects. So there's persons, then persons, then there's the devotees, who appreciates all aspects of the absolute. And then maybe some who've, familiar with Prabhupada, they could say, well, you're not representing Prabhupada accurately, because there's many places he gets really fiery and fierce against the impersonalness. So what are you talking about? You let these, kind of like, celebrate diversity. No, I mean, I've read like that. So what I've said till now is completely valid and true. And we can see places where Prabhupada gets fiery. Now, where he gets fiery and fierce, is when those who are, striving for impersonal realization of the Supreme, wonderful, when they deny the personhood of Godhead, when they deny the personhood of Godhead, when they say Krishna doesn't exist. And again, it's not just like some abstract philosophical thing. Like Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Bhaktosyame sakachati rasyami tadutamam. He says, I'm speaking this Bhagavad Gita to you, Arjuna, because you're my devotee and you're my friend, Saka. So Srila Prabhupada's fully in the line of Arjuna. And so just like, let's say we have a dear person, a family member, a friend, and someone said, they don't even exist. They don't even exist. Or even if they do exist, they can't see or walk or relate, or they have no personal characteristics. And it's like, it's not even like some abstract philosophical discussion. So for Prabhupada, it's just like, you're talking about my friend here, and like that. So when they deny the possibility of the personality of Godhead, that's where Prabhupada gets fierce, not just personally, because then they're doing a great disservice, robbing and cheating others of the possibility of the bliss that comes through personal relationship with Krishna. So that's when we'll see Prabhupada get fierce. If someone like Shukadeva Goswami or the four Kumaras, they appreciate that they were impersonally realized in the absolute, wonderful. And then naturally they came to serve Krishna, and they each had their pastimes too. But when it's denied our person, but if something, well, I prefer the impersonal energy, fine. And Krishna doesn't exist. When Krishna is just Maya, he can't see, he can't talk, he can't relate to personally. That's where Prabhupada gets fired, because then they're doing they're really doing harm to the spiritual lives of others. And then, this the impersonal, because of course, ultimately, even in personal realization, philosophically, no one really believes it. Philosophically, okay, it's actually the idea of distinction. It's all illusion. We're all one. I am you and you are me. There's a truth in that, like we're one in humanity, we're one in spirit souls, but okay, so there's actually ultimately no distinction between you and me. We're all one. And so for you, it would be fine if the wallet in your pocket were in my pocket. Yeah, thank you. So I've tried that. So far, no one's given me their wallet. Hasn't happened. Okay, so that's because we don't really believe that stuff. There's a truth to the oneness with distinction, and that's Srimad Bhagavatam. That's Srimad Bhagavatam. Or okay, say, well, yes, as far as like just the Advaita Vedanta, radical non-dualism, like it's incomplete. Okay, yeah, we're all one. So okay, let's go back to music. We're all one. So that would mean that we could say, it would be valid to say that the actual composer of all of Mozart's symphonies is me, David Wolf. Because we're all one. Okay. So So then my lamentation is, how come I'm not celebrated as a musical genius? Even amongst friends, all I hear is things like, how come you can't keep the beat with the cartels and things like that? Okay. But no, I should be getting yeah, it's a victim story. It's a victim story. Okay. So all right. So there's oneness. Thank you, Anandini. I feel supported by that. She says your friends are all ignorant about music. Yes, thank you.
Brains.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, so there's oneness and there's difference. And the difference is bridged by love. That's bhakti. So just like there's the sun and the sun rays, there's the sun and the sun rays. So like if it's at an hour and a half ago, 7 a.m., yeah, I could say that the sun's coming into my living room. Because it's true, the sun rays are non-different from the sun. And when we say that, we're not saying, am I saying the sun globe is coming into David Wolf's living room? No, no. The sun globe wouldn't fit here. It's a stellar body, 1.4 million times the volume of Earth. But the sun rays, they're not completely different from the sun. They are one with the sun. They emanate light and heat just like the sun, but quantitatively there's a difference. Similarly, the sun rays are not exactly like the sun. There's definitely a difference. Okay. So similarly, we're like God, we're like Krishna, and say we're like the rays. And then by using our free will, to give up our false ego, like in many attempts at spiritual path, the idea is just get rid of ego, get rid of ego. Now, the thing is that's impossible. Ego means sense of who I am, and I am someone. So Bhagavad Gita emphasizes get rid of false ego. I'm David Wolf. I'm 64 years old. I'm from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And that's where the car was born. That's where the car was manufactured. So that's false ego. But I'm not this body. I'm spirit, soul. I'm a servant of Krishna. That's real ego. So this is about cultivating real ego. And so when we use our free will to engage in the original consciousness, the original activity of the spirit self, Nichisiddha Krishna Prema Sajakapunai Shravanadi Shuddha Chitte Karya Udai. Love of Krishna is eternally situated in the hearts of all living entities. And it's awakened by this process of hearing and chanting. And really the process emphasized in these particular verses is smaranam, remembering. He's going into smaranam here. And then yeah. So then when we engage, then that bridge, we don't merge into Krishna at the same time through that loving devotional service that bridges we become one with Krishna in intention, in desire. So we're not separate in our desire like that. We natvevaham jatuna samnatvam name janadipa nachevanam bhavishima sarvevayam atat param. Krishna saying right at the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, Arjuna, nor all these kings on the battlefield, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. So we're eternally individuals. Even the idea of merging into the oneness, it's artificial. And we can use our individuality to become one in intention with the substratum of all existence, Bhagavan Sri Krishna. And just as come to closing, I'm noticing the closing sentence. Prabhupada writes, each and every living entity needs to engage in devotional service to the Lord if he wishes to understand the ultimate cause of his existence. I'll read that again. Each and every living entity needs to engage in devotional service to the Lord if he wishes to understand the ultimate cause of his existence. So I'm reminded of 3 days ago, we were at a park with alligators and with Evie, Michael Madhava, and Savyasachi, and then in the car ride also. So we had this discussion. You asked about the verse Haranam, 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 Eva Kevalam Kilo, Steva Gatyanyata. It's the only way like this. So Prabhupada, he's using the term need. We'll hear that a lot. You need to, you should. And then it can seem narrow-minded. It can seem to reinforce a have-to mentality. And my understanding, though, no, it's completely respecting self-determination, and it's compassionate. That because Prabhupada is saying, if our goal, right, if our goal is to understand the ultimate cause of existence, the very root and ground and source of our existence, then we want to get realization of that, and we need to engage in devotional service. We gave the spontaneous example. What was the name of that park we went to?
Sweetwater.
Sweetwater Park in Gainesville. Yeah, I've been living in this area of the world for 33 years. Hadn't been there till Wednesday. Thank you, Scott and Evie, for taking me there. And we saw lots of alligators. And we're here to tell about it. And yes, so then, because the idea is, okay, we're leaving the park to go to David Wolf's house. So we use the analogy. Okay, how do I get to your house, David? You have to go north on I-75, and at the Alachua exit, then you should take a left. So Scott could say, "Who are you to tell me what I have to do?"
That's my face. That's what I.
Yeah,
He knows me.
yeah, yeah, right, yeah. I'm my own boss. I'm an Indian. I can do what I want. So, like, yes, Scott, you could go south on I-75, go to Miami. We could, let's get to David Wolf's house going through Moscow. I mean, you could do that. But you're saying that your goal is as efficiently and safely as possible to get. So then you need to go north on I-75 and left at the exit. Okay. So it's assuming our goal is self-realization and connection with the higher power within, and awakening our blissful dormant love of God. Okay, then to use our free will to engage in devotional service, then that's Prabhupada's giving that guidance from compassion. You want this goal, this sublime goal. Here's guidance. And it's not about suppressing or repressing our individuality, just the opposite. It's about awakening our spiritual personality. And yeah, and then I know here in town, we have our Festival of the Holy Name, organized by Gaur Shakti, Govinda Sire, K.D. Allen, and others on the team. And I'll mention that it grew out of the Safatov Life Mastery Program. 1 week from today, we have a Life Mastery Program beginning. So let's see what community impact projects they establish. And so to awaken realization of the cause of our existence and the ultimate purpose of spiritual life, and to awaken our dormant bhakti, prema, love of Krishna in the heart, there's many processes, and they're all complementary. And the most foundational, the process is most recommended. That's that hearing and chanting. This is a kirtan festival, multi-day kirtan festival. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Satatam kirtayanto mam yatan chastradrudavrata namasyantas mam bhakta nityayukta upasate. So this, kirtan, that started in the 1980s or something. No, actually, Krishna's talking about kirtan. He says, Satatam kirtayanto mam. And he's recommending to do kirtan. How much? Only 24 hours per day, only 7 days per week, 365 and a quarter days per year. He's actually recommending that. So of course there's, so the more we chant the names of God, in any names of God, and there's some special potency in this mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hari Rama, Hari Rama, Rama Rama, Hari Hari, then our realization of true knowledge awakens about who we are as not the body and spirit soul, and that's the foundation of happiness. Thank you all for listening to Srimad Bhagavatam.
Jai.
Hare Krishna. I welcome at this time any comments or realizations anyone would like to share, or any questions or comments. Bhaktin Rosa.
Hi, Krishna. Did you say that the eternal place has a personality? Because I'm kind of thinking about Earth and Bhumi. So does the place without time have a personality and a name?
Yes, yeah. So you mentioned Earth, Bhumi. So just like, there's this conception increasingly popular each decade that Mother Earth, Mother Earth. So it's not just a sentimental conception. I mean, one can relate to it that way. But no, just like there's this body and inside there's the soul, that's the actual David Wolf, like that. So or each planet is a body, and it's presided over, it's the body of a demigod, in this case a demigoddess named Bhumi. And Bhumi is a pure devotee of Krishna. It's described in many places, particularly like Krishna book, 10th Canto, Srimad Bhagavatam. And so this gets to true spiritual ecology, spiritual environmentalism. Yeah, so we serve Krishna, then naturally Mother Bhumi, Mother Earth, she's happy and she provides in abundance and in abundance. And then in one sense, and it's like engaging in bhakti yoga, service to Krishna, then in one sense, we don't need to separately endeavor to be environmental. For example, it's not that I'm up on all the research, but it's known that like the whole meat industry and slaughtering cows, it contributes substantially to the pollution and this and that. All right, so with a Krishna Prashadam diet, then okay, then there's no unnecessary animal slaughter and there's no pollution. So yeah, so this whole planet is the body of a demigoddess, Mother Bhumi. She's the actual Mother Earth, and yeah, it's called just like, well, something we didn't talk about here, but fear. So Krishna says, "Kalos me, lokakshaya krit pravita." He says, "Time I am, destroyer of the world." So, to the extent that we're misidentifying the self with the body, then we're under the influence of karma, modes of nature, time, and that's fearful. Bhayam dvitiya binivesha tasyat. That to the extent that we're misidentifying the spirit soul with the temporary body, we will be in anxiety. It doesn't matter if we get 12 years of therapy, we're going to be in anxiety to the extent that we're misidentifying the spirit soul, the eternal spirit soul, as the temporary body. And because even if we have what we want, but time is ticking, inexorable time, we're going to lose it, someone's going to take it, ultimately death, old age, disease. Yeah. And that's what, so Bhakti Rosa, I quoted text 56 of this 5th chapter of Brahma Samhita. And one thing it says there is that, well, it's a place called Vaikuntha. So Kunta means anxiety. And we can think of it in terms of a geography, and more essentially in terms of a consciousness. So to the extent I'm in material consciousness, I'm going to be in anxiety. And Vaikuntha means place without anxiety. And so Vaikuntha is a person. That the place is the place is a person. Vrindavan is a person. Mayapur is a person. Dvarka is a person. Goloka, everything's personal. Where there is the eternal existence of transcendental time. Who is ever present? Who? Transcendental time is a person. And these spiritual places, or Krishna's flute is a person. Krishna's flute, yes, everything is personal.
Hi, Krishna.
Thank you. Anandini.
Hare Krishna. Thank you
Hare
for
Krishna.
this class. I'm happy to see Evie and Scott there. um, well, a few things spoke to me. One, the last sentence, that um, by engaging in devotional service to the Lord, we get to understand the ultimate cause of our existence. And I
Yeah.
was recently reading my journals from my teenage years, and that was the main question I had. Like, was a huge question in me: why are we here? What's the cause of all this? What's the purpose of all this? And here is such a simple response. Like,
Mm,
I had no idea how I could find a response. And here is just by devotional service to the Lord, we get to understand. It's so simple. And
thank you. Yeah, thank you.
yeah, the purpose starts with samadhi, so it's concentrating the mind. And I find it really hard to concentrate my mind on something. And recently I had an experience. I had an infection in my shoulder, and it was so painful that my everything in my mind just concentrated on the pain. I couldn't think who am I or where am I or anything. It was just
Mm,
pain. And after this was over, I thought, wow, that's quite an experience. Like, I wish my mind would give the same focus to something that's like to Krishna, or something that's really elevating and devotional and joyful.
mm,
Um, but I know that my mind can actually do it. It just needs to find the
mm.
the right focus. And then I have a question of you said transcendental time is a person.
Yeah.
So what's the name of that person? I'm curious.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Well, Srila Prabhupada might respond to something like that as well. Why don't you ask him or her like that? Sometimes, yeah, sometimes students would ask Prabhupada about like, yeah, yeah, well, how come Krishna this and like this? And Prabhupada would say, well, why don't you ask him? And he's not meaning to be flippant, but the idea is that this is personal. This is personal. And so sure, I'm glad to share whatever realizations or speculations I have, but that by cultivating Krishna consciousness, then then we get to speak to Krishna person to person, one on one. It's not just theoretical. I'm not saying I'm at that level, but Prabhupada's like when he gives responses like that, he's like very serious. Like you can, just like you and I are speaking right here, you can speak to him and ask him these questions. There are some letters where. So, I mean, the principle is and the reality as we do devotional service, we get more and more realizations that are not accessible to mundane attempts at knowledge through mundane mind and intellect. So that's the epistemology. By engaging in devotional service, we get realization about transcendental time. But okay, so I'm not saying I know about just like Krishna has so many names. Nam Nama Kribhata Nija Sarvasaktis Tatrapitanya Mitai Smarine Nikala. God has so many names. There's so many names for Srimati Radharani. Well, okay, so one thing, and we know Kala is a name for time. Now we can say that's material time. At the same time, but then there's the counter hole, the counter hole. There'll be an interesting research because there's that text in Brahma Samhita that directly talks about transcendental time. We can look in the we can look at the Sanskrit to see how that's called, and it'd be a fascinating research.
Thank you. I'll ask Krishna
Yeah.
and I'll let you know.
Yeah, let me know. Let me know. Send me an email with his response.
Would you say Leela as an element of transcendental time?
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Scott. Yes, 100% yes. Because the Leela, like every moment exists eternally, and we can see because in transcendental time, there's no past or future, because there's no rajas or tamas. So I appreciate where you went with that. Okay, so your comment, Leela, transcendental pastime, is imbued with transcendental time. So we can say, like, okay, the essence of time in the material world is that with which inexorably moves everything.
Degrades.
Degrades. It degrades everything. And so in Vaikuntha, Goloka Vrindavan, that which moves everything is bhakti and lila. So it's like transcendental time to me seems in some sense non-different from bhakti lila, because that's what moves everything. So I appreciate that comment.
Yeah, that they get tired, they get hungry. Oh, let's go eat now. It doesn't. It's inconceivable. Like how does this happen? Because they're not. The digestion isn't going on. There's fullness in every moment, but still they want the variety of the experience. Hey, let's play that game where we do the tea party together, with whatever kids might do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In the spiritual world, we're doing that with all the other things I could say maybe to attract us.
To attract us there. Yeah. Thanks for that. Yeah, thanks for that. I'm reminded of there's a purport in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita where Krishna begins to talk about those transcendental Leela Bhakti pastimes. Its sinfulness in Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita. And then in the purport, Prabhupada says, he writes, he uses the word captivated. One should be captivated by this information, like a travel brochure. Sure, like we see a travel brochure. Visit Paris, and here's the Louvre. Visit London, and travel. So it's like Prabhupada said, it's like a travel. Like Krishna's trying to entice us to that ever increasing blissful, spontaneous devotional play. And and so like it's also in the 15th chapter, Krishna, and then Prabhupada in his purports gives the analogy of the banyan tree. The banyan tree, and he talks about a tree where the roots are down, the branches are down, and the roots are up. So where do we see something like that? Well, it does exist if we're on the bank of a lake or a river, and there's a big tree on the other side. The reflection, the branches are down and the roots are up. So that's Krishna's analogy for the material world is like the reflected tree. We've tried to get some fruit. It's insubstantial. And there are many philosophers and poets, the illusory, futile nature of trying to be fulfilled in material existence. It's a pretty common realization. But then the uncommon realization in the purport, Srila Prabhupada, he gives an example from geometry. He says, okay, so that's illusion, but that's only 180 degrees of the circle. A circle has 360 degrees. So the whole other half of the circle, that's the real banyan tree. And so there's real branches and fruits and mangoes and twigs and trunk. He said, okay, so that's where there's spiritual lila. So from a shadow or a reflection, we don't get any idea of what the substance is like, its texture and its actual experience. At the same time, from the shadow, we can know for certain that the substance exists. From the shadow of a person or a tree or a building, we know the real building exists, the real person exists. And so So in the real banyan tree, then it's all get to, it's all lila. There's no have to. Just like the word pastime in ordinary, like, oh, well, I have to go to my job at the office for 40 hours a week, but my pastime, I play golf on the weekends. I hike in the woods. I play tennis. That's my pastime. So in lila, then in the real banyan tree, there's no shadow. It's all choice. It's all loving, inspirational, purposeful pastime, producing bliss that increases millions of times at every moment. Nitya Gopal Prabhu. Well, there we
Hare
go.
Krishna, bro.
Hare Krishna.
So I'm just very much appreciating the discussion here, and I just got inspired to share some of my understanding about the transcendental time. About we are talking about transcendental time,
Thank you.
and we're very much appreciating Anandini's point of view of bringing this up here about transcendental time. So, what you just mentioned from the 15th chapter about the substance and the shadow, whatever exists in the material world is a shadow of the spiritual world.
Yes.
So even the time, what exists in the material world is a shadow of a spiritual world. So even the time factor, the time element, the time objectively in itself is a reflection from the spiritual world in this material world. And a glimpse of it we can get like the effect of time in the transcendental spiritual world is to enhance Krishna's pastimes.
Yeah.
Like Tulsi Devi, Vrinda Devi, she is said to be the choreographer of Krishna's pastimes, and she can control what point of time, what kind of weather it would be, what effect of time she wants during those particular pastimes. Whether she wants what would be enhancing in Krishna's pastime, would it be enhancement of evening time or afternoon time or morning time? So, what kind of time effect of time would be most conducive for Krishna to perform that particular pastimes? So that's how time is serving in the spiritual world, and we have the time at the same time. The time is to enhance the quality of relationship and the pastimes with Krishna. That's what coming to my
Yeah.
mind. And
Thanks for that. I'm just like I'm getting realizations from your sharing, and then to the extent that we use time in that way to enhance self-realization and Krishna's enjoyment, then time becomes spiritual. It becomes transcendental time.
I mean, yes, that become a transcendental time. And I'm just thinking of a glimpse what we can get in this material world about the spiritual timing, like especially those Brahma Muhurtas time. I mean, early morning times wherein we are completely absorbed in Krishna service, Krishna chanting, hearing about Krishna, reading about Krishna, as I see most of your morning goes into. I'm very inspired by you in that sense. And so, I mean, you must be experiencing the glimpse of a transcendental time then. I mean, you just don't want it to pass away. You just
Yeah.
want it to freeze. At the same time, time continues in its own self.
Yeah. It's pretty common for me. Like as we come, like I'm on my fifth, 6 hour morning program. I want to do a 12-hour morning program. I want to keep this going. I want to keep this going. And another realization I got, I'm reminded earlier this year, we were in a place called Landrindod, Wales, and it was some exchange with Anandini. And Anandini, uh, I hope I'll honor bounds of confidentiality, but anyhow, it was a particular day there in Landrindod. And Anandini chanted a whole mass of Hare Krishna japa rounds, like dozens and dozens. And she was sharing that like it was just this like timeless space. And that moved me to well, to some depression and lamentation. Because I noticed like generally when I'm chanting rounds, I'll have my watch, whether I'm inside or outside. Like, oh, because it can be a little helpful. Oh, did I chant too fast and not pay attention? Am I spacing out? It took like 10 minutes for a round. like that. But then I'm like, so I realized, and I've a little bit taken into my life this year, that it's going to be likely, mostly healthier for my spiritual life to not be checking my watch during japa. It's like a contradiction. Like how long is 7.2 minutes? You know, and I tell myself, but it's just that my attachment to material time and it's anxiety. And I appreciate your insights. There you go, Paul.
And also a point which is coming to my mind during the chanting also. I mean, you talked about the effect of timing in the japa session. I mean, during we are doing our japa, it could be a moment of transcendental time when we are just finishing one bead of, let's say, one whole mantra of Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Just to give us a sense. Let's say we're chanting one mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. There's a time and space, and that could be one moment of transcendental time in our mind. I mean, just to have that reference point.
Mm.
So, I mean, how much time we are spending in transcendental realm could be how much time I'm chanting Krishna's Mahamantra, I mean, Hare Krishna Mahamantra, attentively being present with the name. Not our mind is not going past in the future, just be with the name. And that could be one moment in time, transcendental time, just to get a glimpse of it.
Mm. Moved by realizations. Thank you, Nichigopal. Mm. Any other comments or questions or realizations? Thank you all for your association. Srimad Bhagavatam ki
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Hare Krishna.